Hello everybody and welcome back to INSANEBRIT Gaming. I'm the INSANEBRIT and this is this week's News Friday where I talk about all the week's gaming news, gaming topics and some anime news. We're going to start off with the tragedy at Jacksonville. So if I can just find that now. The shooter has been identified as David KATZ. David KATZ identified as a Jacksonville mass shooter opened fire on after losing a Madden game. Tragedy struck Jacksonville, Florida Sunday as a gunman opened fire on a room full of gamers competing in an EA Sports Madden NFL 19 tournament at the game bar landing, Jacksonville Landing. We now know who the shooter was, shooting 10 people and taking the lives of 2. A 20-year-old David KATZ of Baltimore has been identified as the lone gunman who opened fire. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Department confirmed that David KATZ was dead at the scene. Police also note that KATZ took his own life. KATZ participated in a Madden tournament in March, blah, 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 and I'll get to that in a little bit, actually, as well. So, yeah, this guy goes into a Madden tournament. I believe he won it last year, and probably a lot of pressure on him. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it's probably a reality. After losing the tournament, he obviously didn't like that and pulled out a gun and started to shoot people. I believe he shot the winner of the tournament and another guy, and I'll get to the names in a little bit. People on Twitter were already using it for political gain, saying he was right-wing Republican and whatever else. And he shot, the first guy he shot was a black guy, so it was racially motivated. It was not racially motivated. The guy who won the competition just so happened to be black. And if you are going to get revenge or you're pissed off, you're going to do two things when it comes to this particular tournament he was in. I would suggest, and that is one. Go for the guy that who knocked you out of the tournament as a revenge, or you go for the winner of the competition overall. So I do not believe for 1 second it was politically motivated in any way, shape or form. This was a disgruntled person with a lot of pressure on them from last year's tournament, and he drove down from one state to another to compete in this and took his gun, somehow got through security, which we'll talk a little bit about as well with the blowback of the situation in itself. So my opinions on this. This person was very mentally disturbed, and I know people are going to say, and the criticisms have been, well, why aren't you calling it terrorism, blah, blah, blah. Is it because, you know, I've had this before as well, is it because he's white? Well, no, it's simply because he wasn't doing it based on an ideology, someone in the sky wasn't telling him to do it, he wasn't following a book, he wasn't following a cult, he was just simply a fucking, you know, someone who's mentally fucked up or whatever and decided to do this for revenge. It was a revenge thing overall. Or maybe he was suffering psychological problems beforehand. I believe he was on some kind of medication as well. But, you know, no one's really putting two and two together with that because there's so much money in a pharmaceutical company, they won't touch it. But yeah, I believe he was mentally disturbed, maybe depression, anxiety. Who the hell knows what was going on with him? I can't give a diagnosis on that, but I would say if you are having any of those kind of issues, then please talk to somebody because this whole thing could have been avoided. The interviewer, the guy who was commentating said that trying to get him to answer questions in interviews and stuff like that was like pulling teeth. So he wasn't very talkative. He had something on his mind. You could argue he was focused, had the competition on his mind, blah, blah, blah. But now we know that he was planning this. You don't bring a gun to one of these places unless you intend to use it. Why bring a gun at all to somewhere where you're competing in competition, especially to do with computer games? It just doesn't make sense. You would expect this kind of thing from a Call of Duty esports thing, wouldn't you? With if everyone's, you know, guns and everything else, you know what I mean? Like Call of Duty, you know, the media would jump on that. And of course, bit of the blowback is that now picking out stories from around the world, trying to find links to these individual pockets around the world of 7 billion people to say that gamers are now violent, and you know, even the government's come out and said that games are bad, and they're looking into getting a new structure where they implement new guidelines for games, you know, when they come out, what's allowed, what isn't allowed, which is part of the blowback. Of course, gamers are very fickle and hate the mainstream media anyway because they always label us one thing or the other, and gamers are shit talkers and they don't put up with that shit, and that's what the mainstream media, when they blame gamers and stuff like that, what happens is, or a lot of people tend to think or believe, or I'd say about 90% of the world do this, they read a paper and they trust it. They look at the news and they trust it, and they go, yeah, very, very, very damaging, very this, very that, not knowing or not really realizing that they have a political agenda or an undertone. But there's another side of the story that's not being told because they want to have a political agenda. And gamers know this. We called it out. Critics call, well, not critics, but reviewers on YouTube and other people who play games and everything else call them out on it, and they don't like that because we're free to think what we want. We don't just read the newspaper and believe whatever's said. We're on the ground. We know we're not violent. We know that we don't kill people after rage quitting us out. We maybe break a controller here and there, but that's as violent as it gets. Realistically for most of us. So they try and pin us as one, and the gaming community don't put up with it. They hound you, they say fuck you. They're some of the biggest shit talkers in the world. If you've ever been in a Call of Duty lobby or wherever, you know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And that's why the mainstream media doesn't fucking like us in that respect, because we don't just put up with their shit. We talk shit right back, and we put the facts on there in front of them, and they don't like it, you know what I mean? Some are better than others at doing it, it is what it is, but yes, that's part of the blowback that's happening. Another aspect of it is the security. We've got people now saying they're concerned about going to conventions and stuff like that, and I will say that you should always feel safe in a convention, whether it be gaming, a cosplay one, anime convention. You should always feel safe, and I think that's one small positive thing about this whole thing, is there will be now increased security at these events, and I think that's only a good thing, because you don't want to repeat a thing of this around the world, especially in America, where there's guns, over 300 million guns in private hands, probably more on the black market as well. You want to feel safe in these environments no matter what you're doing. You may get judged by your family, you may get judged by friends about what you're doing, but you go to a convention, you're there to celebrate the game, you're there to celebrate the event, and to be part of that big gaming community, and you want to feel safe. And these companies, whether it be PAX, E3, or EA running something, they should increase security, even if it's metal detectors or increased bag searches. You don't want no one slipping through, and even the competitors do it to them. There's the mental pressures as well of competing in the likes of Call of Duty and stuff like that. We had a guy who was competing in a Call of Duty competition who dumped his girlfriend for various reasons, but he wanted to play more Call of Duty. Maybe that was actually clickbait. He actually dumped her or broke up with her because she wanted to go back to Mexico and do a career in TV and everything, which I'm sure most of you have seen the articles, but if you actually read it, it wasn't because I want to play more Call of Duty. It was just that they were going to be apart for various reasons. They live in separate countries and they wanted to do different things, etc., etc. But it is what it is. So yeah, increased security at conventions and stuff, I think is a good thing. Now EA, I've criticised an awful lot in the past couple of weeks, and but I will step up for them here, and I will say congratulations or good job on what they're doing with this situation, because they're actually donating. They've established something called the if I can just get the name, but EA sets up a $1 million fund for Jacksonville shooting victims. EA has announced it is establishing the Jacksonville Tribute, a fundraising initiative to support victims of last Sunday's shooting at a Madden tournament in Jacksonville, Florida. Making an announcement via Twitter that EA has pledged to kickstart the fund with a donation of $1 million that will be opening the initiative to members of the public to contribute. All proceeds from the fund will go towards supporting the victims of the attacks, as well as the families of Taylor Robinson and EJ Clayton, who both lost their lives. Again, that pronunciation, sorry if I can't get that right. EA has also scheduled a live stream in support of Jacksonville Tribute next Thursday, September 6th, vowing to bring the community together through uniting in play. EA has promised more details on both fundraising initiative and the live stream very soon. Last Sunday's incident, which saw a participant at Madden tournament turn the gun on attendees, has led to an outpouring of support for the victims on social media, as well as prompting a closer look at security for such events such as PAX West Convention. Confirmed they've increased both private security and law enforcement for the duration of the event. Again, that's a good thing. We don't want copycats. Alright guys, I've got two more stories relating to Battlefield. Give me 1 second. Alright guys, this next story is Battlefield 5, and they've won an award for the best multiplayer. They managed to starve off Call of Duty, who got the award themselves, right? This award was called the Best Social / Online Game Award earlier this week. What? Who gives a shit? I personally don't agree with gaming awards. I think that the game ain't even out, so how the fuck are they winning awards? I don't know. But whatever, it is what it is. So I just thought I'd bring you that to your attention. The next part of this story actually is Battlefield 5, ironically, has been delayed by a month. EA have announced that Battlefield 5, originally due to release on October 19th, has had its release date pushed back for a month and will now release on November 20th. That's more or less a full month after Call of Duty, more or less, because they were going to go head-to-head like they do every single year or every time they come out to try and compete for sales. Now, this might give a vantage point to Call of Duty. Well, it will, because people want to snap that up, but by then, a month goes by, people will be bored of Call of Duty after playing the same maps over and over, unless they buy the DLC, and even then there's no story, so people might they'll replenish their money, their wallets rather, and then go, you know what, I fancy buying Battlefield 5 now. I was saying to buy the next month. So this might be a good thing that's being delayed for us gamers if we want to play it. You know, a little bit less heavy on our wallets. At the same time, it may do good long term or better for Battlefield because they're not competing directly with another game, so they generate and get more sales. So you're most likely after a period of time willing to buy Battlefield because it's not being released at the same time. The news comes from Osaka Garin, general manager and developer of DICE. In a blog post on EA's website, he seems to point to player feedback as being a primary reason behind the delay, thanking the tens of thousands of players who both played during the closed alphas or in a demo booth at the events at E3 at Gamescom. The highlights some positive feedback around weapons handling and player movement. Like I said before, we've even got into this actual game, whether it's good or not, we're unsure because of all the politics in itself is damaging the game in itself. It seems that the gameplay is the sticking point, pointing in a particular to gameplay tempo as well as the soldier visibility and player friction. While he doesn't go into details around the specifics of the feedback, he does state that the players will see improvements in these areas in the game's upcoming open beta, which kicks off on September 6th or September 4th for pre-orders or members of Origin Access, Premier Origin, or Access Basic, or EA Access. Jesus fucking Christ, how many access things you have to have. The post confirms, however, that EA and DICE have settled on a later launch date to get it right. As well as the core gameplay, it seems that there are some concerns that the current build doesn't fully deliver the potential of Tides of War. A live service intends to replace the previous system of premium passes and expansion packs with an evolving journey that will grow over time. Following the game's open beta September 6th, Battlefield 5 will now release on November 20th for PC, Xbox One, PS4, blah blah blah. Yeah, so it's been delayed. Now, you could argue that that's a marketing ploy based on the fact that they want to do, you know, they don't want to compete directly with Call of Duty, but I don't think so. I think it might just be they want to get the launch right because of all the shit that's going around with this game. They can't afford no more delay, well, not more delays, but they can't afford no more fuck-ups, so they'd rather delay it, get it right, launch it, and then go, there's our product, and everyone who does buy it is extremely happy with it, and they don't want no more negative feedback regarding the game itself from the politics or the way they've chosen to do things. They don't want no more errors with this game. It's already a franchise or a game that's being heavily criticized, and we ain't even seen the gameplay yet, you know, or whatever. So it's ridiculous how all the criticism that's come with it thus far, but you know, I'm going to say it's deserved. Or the way they've handled it, but they don't want to make no more mistakes on that in that front, and I understand that. Our last story is Xbox. They've got a new system. Xbox All Access subscription offers consoles, Xbox Live, and Game Pass for a monthly fee. Yes, that's right. So Xbox All Access subscription offers you a console, Xbox Live, and Game Pass for a monthly fee, and there's some details to get into this, and I'll give you the prices as well. And I've got to say, this is a game changer. And we're gonna to some detail here. So first of all, I would like to say, wow, congratulations, Microsoft, my God. But anyway, here's the detail. Microsoft announced that Xbox All Access today, a new plan that includes subscriptions to Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Pass, as well as an Xbox One hardware for a discounted monthly fee. According to Ventoby or whatever, which the site has now pulled the Xbox article, so they've taken the article down, Xbox All Access will help new customers finance a console and pay less than they would buying the hardware and service separately. There are two tiers. Okay, so you've got two tiers here. Xbox One All Access for $22 per month. Subscribers will get an Xbox One S, Xbox Live Gold, and Game Pass. So that's tier 1. Tier 2, you pay $35 a month, and you'll get an Xbox One X in addition to the Xbox Gold and Game Pass. There's also no upfront cost, Microsoft said, and at the end of a 24-month subscription period, Xbox All Access members keep the Xbox One hardware they've paid for. Well, that makes perfect sense. If you are paying for something monthly and you get a box like a Skybox, you pay for it, well, in theory, keep the box, but you know what I mean? You're paying a monthly fee. It's going to work out like that. So you're paying for the console over a period of time. That's short, a bit of money each month, and it's like finance basically, compared to having to pay for it upfront, all in all, which comes to, they've got the full amount it comes up to as well, and I'll give you that in a minute. The total cost for the 2-year subscription to Xbox All Access comes out to about $528 for the Xbox One S bundle and $840 for an Xbox One X. At current prices, those services and hardware purchased separately will cost about $660 and $860 respectively if customers bought the annual Xbox Live Gold subscriptions. So basically you're saving about 20 quid if you buy the X one, for example. It was $860, it's $840. So yeah, and you're saving even more with the S version because it's $528. If you bought them separately, it'd be $660. Microsoft says that Xbox All Access is currently only for customers in the USA, and that offers stands for a limited time. Microsoft said only qualified customers can take part, presumably meaning that the Xbox All Access subscribers will be subject to credit check, similar to how some cell phone services provide handle payment plans. Oh, an update on the information about it actually is now Xbox All Access is now live on Microsoft website. Xbox All Access is only available at the Microsoft Store. Interested parties will have to walk into a retail location in order to sign up for the program, and only from August 27th through December 31st while supplies last. Customers can buy any new Xbox S or X console with a 1 terabyte hard drive through Xbox All Access, according to the program's FAQ. Confirms that customers must pass a credit card check to determine their eligibility for All Access, and program requires a Dell preferred account, and Dell Finance Services, not Microsoft, handles the financing as long as the customer makes all 24 payments over the 2-year period of a contract, paying off the balance in full. They won't have to pay any interest on the finance. So basically guys, it's working like a finance system where you pay for it each monthly and you pay a little bit, and if you pay all those things off each month within that 2-year period or 24 months, you won't incur no interest on that payment, which is really, really cool. And that basically is amazing. It's brilliant. It is a masterstroke by Xbox. If they would have came out with this when the console launched, they would have fucking won. You're telling me that sitting there with all their crappy bullshit, that if they said, well, you know what, you can just sign up for this service, pass a credit check, as long as you get that credit check, pay us $35 a month or $24 a month, you will get an Xbox One SX, whatever the hell it was, or an original Xbox rather. Could you imagine that? I would have signed up for it. I bought the PS4 first, then I got the Xbox later on, about a year later. But imagine that. Everybody would have done it, literally. But then again, I think the website would have crashed and it would have been a pain in the ass for them, so they probably didn't do it. Plus, I don't really see them sending people Xboxes and then chasing up £25 a month. I think that would have been too gradual. I think the way they did it is the way they did it because they wanted the money now. They want instant return, not long-term £25 and then make the money back over 2 years, especially if you stop paying it. Then there's chasing it. There's a lot of cost incur in trying to, you know, get money off of people and all the rest of it. So, but this imagine if this worked out and it would have been, this would have been the actual game changer for me, because now all it says now, I wouldn't advise doing the console thing now because in 2 years another one's coming out, but if they would have launched this in 2014, even a year later, it would have put like literally everyone on the market. So now if you saved up to buy an Xbox One or whatever, and you're like, man, it could cost me £200 or £300 or 400 or whatever it was at the time, back when it was new or newer, or like 2014 plus going on 2015, and you saved up hard and you've bought the console, this now will literally put your 7, 8, 10-year-old brother on par with you of your console. While he's still playing the PS3 or Xbox 360, boom, he's right up there with you now, because his mum or dad or whatever is paying 25, 30 a month to get the console, and he's got a decent console now, and that would have been a masterstroke, because now that basically puts a console in. I mean, parents these days can't afford 200 or 300 just like that. A lot of people just can't. But 35 a month, not really a problem. So the idea of them putting to paying that price, and then that would essentially put an Xbox in everybody's house. Everybody would have one. Watch Netflix on it, watch YouTube on it. I think they're doing some sporting events. You've got Amazon Prime, all that kind of stuff. You've got, and then you've got the games themselves. So if you've got a console sitting there, you're using it consistently, that makes everybody an Xbox person because it's so cheap and accessible that now a game comes out once or twice a month. Oh, I'll pick that up, 40, 50 quid. It puts your console in effectively millions and millions of people's houses. What a masterstroke that would have been. That would have been like a brilliant, I don't know if it would have beat PS4 because PS4 would have done really well with the exclusives anyway. But what an incredible masterstroke that would have been. That would have been absolutely fucking genius. That everyone pays £25 a month, £30. And you've got your console in everybody's house. So basically that makes me now an Xbox person because I've got it there. I'm paying for it. I'm going to buy my games on Xbox. Maybe third party and a few exclusives, but it's still there. And if anything, I would have said, well, PS4, well, I'll get it eventually, or I want to play that exclusive. But it would have made a second, everything second to PS4 because I play the Xbox on everything. I play everything on Xbox. That's where my friends are, whatever. Most people have got it. And when you put that system in your house, it then makes, you know, people that come round or whoever see you've got an Xbox. You see what that goes? You've basically got a product in a gaming console in everybody's house at this small price compared to the PS4. It cost $400. I paid $400 or something back in the day. Having said that, launching it now is a little bit late. I think if you don't mind playing the older generation, I mean, this is current gen. But soon it will be old gen in about 1 or 2 years' time. By the time you've paid it off, there'll be a new one. So, but then again, if you want it now and you want to pay this kind of price and don't want to pay the full whack like how you would have, but then again, I think an Xbox is like 200% now, so it's not that much. Maybe you don't want to fuck around with that and you just buy it outright. I'd probably recommend buying it outright at this point. If you can afford 200 and something, just buy it rather than that. But if you're a single parent or whatever, and you can't afford 200 or 300 for your kid or whatever at Christmas time, especially when Christmas time's rolling around, I would advise you getting on this anyway and start doing it now. I definitely advise that. I think it's a good idea if you can't afford it, and you can just pay the monthly fee. It'd be better off for you. And then, you know, I just think it's a clever idea. I think it works for some more than others. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I think it would have been a master stroke if they did this at the beginning of a console generation. I would have had to have done it. I would have been forced to do it straight away. I'll sign up for that and I'll pre-order my PS4. That's what I would have done. Anyway, guys, that's about it for this week's News Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed the topics. In my opinion, your opinion may differ. I'm not trying to glorify David KATZ or whatever in any way, shape or form. I just wanted to talk about it because it was related to gaming. Otherwise, I wouldn't have touched on the subject. In the link in the description below, I'm going to leave a video. So the article I read, but in it is a video. Go to the 36-minute mark and you will see an interview with David KATZ, and you can really see this guy. You can look into his eyes, look at what he says, hear his voice. And I mean, this is about 2 months before what happened. It's not current. It was at another event, but just this was a guy on the brink, you know, on the build-up to about 2 months before. So just listen to that interview at the 36-minute part. It's only like for about 40 seconds. And he's not the most sociable person, people, so it seemed anyway, at least from what I could tell. Very awkward in front of the camera, maybe. He looked a little bit off. I don't know, it is what it is. I'm not trying to glorify it in any way, shape or form. I'm just, you know, bringing light to it and giving my thoughts and opinions on it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Donate to me via PayPal, whatever. Get your name shouted out on this, a FIFA sim, food review, whatever. There's a food review coming out tomorrow, by the way. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.